It's the final pre-season, mid-season friendly thing coming tomorrow as Forest take on Valencia. But what can we expect and who will be playing? Well, let's find out and let's get into it now. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you are having a wonderful day, and welcome to your match preview for Valencia versus Nottingham Forest as Forest go into their final pre-season, mid-season thingy-majiggy on 3 losses. And Valencia is not going to be an easy one whatsoever. But the good news on this one is that Forest should be back up to their full World Cup numbers, including our boy right here, Roma Freuler, who probably has been our best player at the World Cup over the World Cup period. So it would be good to see him back. But how important is this game? It's the usual question we get to when we talk about friendlies. I think it has somewhat more importance now, having had 3 really poor performances so far, this being the final one before we start into competitive matches again with Blackburn coming up next Tuesday. And of course, we will have this watch along for you tomorrow as well, so make sure you are around for it. But there are a few things I want to cover off in today's video, and that's who I want to see and what I want to see happen. I think we have to drop Henderson. Shark horror. No, not because of anything, obviously because he's not going to be there for the Manchester United match when we get back into the Premier League. So I think it would be a good idea to give Hennessy a couple of games, be it this one, the Valencia one, in a non-competitive environment, and following that with the Blackburn League Cup match as well. So he's going into the Manchester United match with 2 matches under his belt. He's had the World Cup, which he did okay on, apart from his Kung Fu kick. So I think that would be the first change I want to see happen. The second one, and the most obvious one, and it's going to come as no surprise to you guys when I say this, Freuler needs to come back in the team, and Freuler needs to come back in for the likes of Colback. We're replacing him straight away. Colback hopefully hasn't even gone onto the plane to Valencia, but I think he has. But for me, I want to see Freuler get at least 45 to 60 minutes under his belt, get back into conducting. But will Cooper play him higher up the pitch? That's going to be the interesting thing to see. I don't think he will. I think Cooper wants to play him as the deep-lying midfielder, which to me doesn't make that much sense. But I would love to see him and Mangala in a 2 behind 3 attackers and a striker, which we'll come on to in a second. So for sure, Freuler we're going to see tomorrow. In what kind of strategy, I don't know. I think is most likely going to be in a 4-3-3. So Freuler in, also Nico Williams. Now, Nico Williams suffered from a concussion during the World Cup, so he may not get as much airtime. We may see him come in at right back or left back, maybe for half a match as a substitute to get some game time under his belt. I'm starting to feel, even in Cooper's mind, Nico Williams is no longer a starter. Serge Aurier has definitely nailed down the right back position, and he seems to be showing Lodi more and more respect, which is good to see, and Lodi seems to be our first choice left back. Now, speaking of left backs, what will be very, very interesting to see is, does Omar Richards get named on the squad? Because Omar Richard is very close to match fitness. I mean, for God's sake, man, it doesn't take 6 years to get over a fractured leg. So my understanding is that he was due to be back into full training at the end of November, which we have seen and passed, and now we're into mid-December. It is time, surely, for at least an announcement on his fitness to see how far away he is. Now, will he get into the team? I don't think so. But is he worth, being tested out maybe in a Blackburn game coming up in the League Cup to see where he is? Or do we use our first team into the Blackburn game? And again, that's something we'll cover off in a second. So speaking of injuries, Niakhate, I know a lot of you are asking me about it. There's been radio silence about him and when he'll be back. Will it be January 2023? Will it be December 2023? We don't know. All I know is that it is a hamstring injury. And I have never heard of a hamstring injury take this long to recover from. There is definitely something weird and something underlying going on with Niakhate. He was a substitute in the Senegal friendly back in October or whenever it was. And it looks like something must have happened while he was away on international duty that took him a couple of steps back from his fitness at Nottingham Forest. Was it a reoccurrence of the same injury? That would be my guess on it, because you cannot get, unless someone went into his leg and literally cut out his hamstring, you can't have an injury that lasts for that long in terms of hamstrings. So we won't see him, for anyone who's wondering. He definitely won't be anywhere near this squad or the Blackburn, Man U or Chelsea game. It may be around the Southampton game that we see our beloved saviour of that defensive back line come back in. So just keep an eye out on the channel, and of course we will keep you updated on the developments. What we do know is that Kouyate is out for at least 2 to 3 months. Again, a hamstring injury. What is it with Forest players and hamstrings? I have no clue. And as I mentioned in yesterday's video, that's why Forest are looking for some lasagna. It looks like there's going to be a panic buy to cover off Koyate's injury, which I just don't think is required with the amount of depth we have in central midfield. But anyway, back onto the Valencia game. This is not going to be an easy match. Valencia are 10th in the Spanish league. They are not having the best campaign. They've won 4 games. But they still are a strong outfit to play. You have Edison Cavani, who has joined them. You got Kluivert Jr., who's a pretty damn good player. Not as good as it was. Dad wasn't that great, to be honest. But he's a very pacey player and has a lot of potential. And then you got Gaia, who I think is one of their best players as well. Look, we've already played them in a pre-season, in the official pre-season, where we drew 1 apiece. They dominated us from what I remember from watching the match for the first 60 or so minutes. And then a lovely ball from McKenna through the channel down to Awoni, and he was able to square it off for Brennan Johnson, if memory serves me correct, to equalise. And that was 1-1 to Forest. We did start to see a few promising signs in that match, and hopefully this will mirror that match, and we will be able to see our players string some passes together. Look, what do I expect from tomorrow? I expect Forest to start out in a 4-3-3. I then expect them to change formation in the second half to a 4-2-3-1. So if that is going to be the case, or it might actually be switched the other way around, first half in a 4-2-3-1, etc. Either way, I think when we go into the 4-3-3, Valencia will dominate us. And when we go to a 4-2-3-1, we will probably play a lot better, because it's screaming out that the balance of this team has to change into a 4-2-3-1. Will we see Scarpa playing is the question. That, my friends, is the answer I don't have to you. I think we're going to see Scarpa used as a substitute, because Steve Cooper is thinking about the Blackburn and the Manchester United match where Scarpa won't be able to play, and his mind has to be switched onto that. We have to see a performance tomorrow. Don't care about the result. I care about the performance. I care about a competitive edge to the way we're going to play. Seeing passes strung together would be a lovely addition. On top of that, seeing a few goals and a striker on the pitch. So who do I want on the pitch? Of course, it's going to have to be Awoni. I don't think he's the greatest striker in the world, but in a position where we don't have many, that's what I want to see. My big worry is he goes with the false 9 yet again, where he puts Lingard, MG Dub and Jono as that 3. And for me, it just doesn't work. Doesn't work because he himself said in the previous match, in his interview, that we were playing too deep. What do you expect when you have no striker and you put midfielders up front, would be my argument back to Cooper on that one. Let's move on. And happy birthday to Jesse Lingard, who turns 30 today, who in a few days' time will be able to talk about leaving Nottingham Forest. Now, it doesn't seem that there is going to be a January exit with him, but I would not be surprised if you start to see some links to clubs outside of Nottingham Forest with him. Do I think there'll be Premier League clubs? Absolutely not. Or maybe some real low-level, desperate Premier League clubs who may want him in for next season. But I think Jesse Lingard's future will end up somewhere in America, most likely with his chubby friend, Wayne Rooney. So potentially that could happen over the January window, but he does have pretty much from January onwards to focus on that. And that's the word I want to use there, focus. My worry with Lingard now is this going to affect his performances? To be honest, I haven't been that impressed with him throughout the whole of the season. I know a lot of you weren't, and then suddenly changed your minds over one game, and said game being the Spurs match, Mickey Mouse Cup. Anyway, my point being is it was very clear that Jesse's motivations coming into Nottingham Forest were trying to force his way into a late run-in into the England team for the World Cup, and that never happened. So what is next on his agenda? It can go one of two ways. Either he can sort himself out, as mentioned, an MLS club, which he could probably do quite easily, or he's going to have to perform on the pitch to either get the contract extended with Nottingham Forest, subject to our Premier League status next season, or he's going to have to still put those performances to attract maybe another club in and around the Premier League. I can't see Jesse's pride allowing him to drop into the Championship, nor can I see him really fitting in a European league, Spain, Italy, anything like that. So I think for Jesse Lingard, it's going to be a straight choice between Forest, depending on how we do, MLS, or another Premier League club. I'm just speculating, but to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, something like an Aston Villa or clubs of that kind of size or stature. I don't think he can push his way into a top six. It may again be West Ham if West Ham were to survive this season. I don't think the West Ham fans will take him after he snubbed them over the summer. So I think it would be like a Villa-y kind of club. And I'm not saying Villa at all, but that kind of size and that option. But I don't want him to extend his contract with us any further. Not because I don't particularly like him as a player. It's more so with what we currently have in that position, and we have plenty. You have Morgan Gibbs-White, and we've got Scarpa. The other thing that's starting to crop back up again is the talks about Hussam Aouar, who is another number 10, who will be a free agent at the end of the year, who in January will be open to have discussions about his contract as well. Forest came very close to signing him in the summer until the whole Jesse Lingard MGW thing happened. But the question is, will there be much interest in him to be picked up? I think there will be, because he is still a cracking player. It's just not working out for him at the moment in Lyon. And would I take him at Forest? 100% I would. Especially if we can pick him up on a free in January. There may be a couple of clubs that are interested in him with a low fee, which Lyon would grab with both hands right now, because it doesn't look likely that he's going to sign a new contract there or be offered one. So if they could make a couple of mil off him, I think they will depart. But I see that one as being more a summer transfer window for next season, because people won't want to take too much of a risk on him, but he is a cracking player. But I'll keep you posted on, of course, how that one develops. Coming back to the Valencia game, kickoff will be 6:30 tomorrow night. We'll have the watch along for you from 6:15. We'll discuss the team news. I'll keep you posted as always. We'll have the virtual pitch and everything else going on, as long as it's not a behind closed door one, which I don't think it will be, as tickets were made sold and available to fans. So we'll be able to keep you posted on exactly what happens there. In the meantime, if you want more of a preview, please go check out the podcast, Grumpy Old Reds. The link for it is in the description down below. If you've enjoyed the video so far and want to support us, as always, please don't forget to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And if you want to become a member for 99p, just hit that join button down below. It is much appreciated and keeps the meter ticking over for us on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on the watch along, and come on, you Reds.